Welcome to Trading Couch, where you learn and earn together. This would be the second chapter in the CPR series videos. In the first chapter, we looked into the basics of CPR, that is, what is CPR, what type of an indicator it is, and how it helps in reading the charts and predicting the price movement on any given day. If you have not watched the video, then click on the video link displayed on the screen, or you will find the link of the video in the description box. Before we start off with today's concepts or learnings pertaining to CPR, the CPR should be analyzed keeping two things in mind. One is the previous day's price rate, and the other factor is the current day's opening. That is, when we say it is the previous day's price range, we are talking about in what range the price has moved in the previous day. It might be a narrow range day, or it might be the trending day. And the next, when I say current day's opening, then it might be opening above the range, opening within the range, or opening below the range. So these two factors determine how the price behaves on any given day, provided what is the position of the CPR, like the width of the CPR, and etc., and several other factors. Today we'll be discussing one such important topic which gives the trader an upper hand right before the market, whether the day's session will be a sideways day or a trending day, and accordingly prepare the trader to take the trade whenever the conditions are right and fruitful to take a trade which will give him maximum profits. So what do I mean when I say the width of the CPR? It is basically the distance between the three lines, that is the top central pivot, the central pivot, and the bottom central pivot. Basically, the distance between these three is nothing but the width of the CPR. The space between these three lines vary according to the previous day's session. Now, say for example, if the previous day's session was say a trending session, so how is the central pivot range calculated? Using the low, close, and the high and open. So taking all these factors into consideration, a central pivot range is calculated. So when the previous day's range is a trending range, then you can expect the CPR to be wider. That is, the distance between the top central pivot and the bottom central pivot would be on a wider scale. So when the previous day's price range appeared to be narrow, then the CPR for the current trading session would be narrow. That is, let us look into the various types of widths that we can find in the market. Now, this CPR that we are seeing is usually a wide range CPR. Now, moving forward, if we see this one is a narrow range CPR. See, the width of it is much smaller than the width that we looked into the earlier CPR. Similarly, we can see one here which is unusually narrow. That is, there is absolutely no space between the top central and the bottom pivot line. So these days are a ticking time bombs where depending on the opening range of the price, it can explode and continue to be a trending day. So basically, the width of the CPR plays a major role in determining the range or the price movement for the given trading session. For example, if the width of the CPR is abnormally wide, like the one that we are seeing here, then we can expect a narrow range of price movement or a sideways trading day. For example, if we look into the day's session, we can see that here the price range on this day, that is on the day of the wide CPR, we can see that the price moved within a given range, and It almost was sideways and ended up the day in a given narrow range. So a trader can be well aware that on a wide CPR day, you should be very careful in taking trade, because it might just trade between the high and the low of the initial balance high. Now when I say initial balance, it is nothing but the 1 hour, that is the low and high of the first 1 hour of the trading session. Low and high of the first 1 hour of the trading session. Okay, so this is called as the initial balance low, and usually on a day of a wide CPR, the price remains to be on a sideways range within the initial balance. Now let's look at some of examples for a wide CPR day. So look at this, there is a wide CPR and the price was in between the initial balance high and low. So there was never a possibility of a trending day, and you could have never expected a risk management of 1:2. Now say this is how a wide CPR is formed. You see this, the previous day was a trending day. Now see the distance between the high and the low and the high of the previous day. So this appeared to be on a trending day, and that's why the CPR for the current trading session had to be narrow, and accordingly the price moved within this zone. Here we have one more example where the prior day was a trending day, and apparently the CPR for the current trading session had to be wide, and you can see that the price remained to be sideways. So here, in case if you assume that previous day was a trending day and the first few candles showed a trending continuation of the trend, and you took a bearish setup here, then you are completely trapped here in a sideways market and end up losing money. So here we have another example where the previous day was a trending day, and this happened to make the CPR of the current trading day a wider one. And here, though the stock moved out of the initial balance low, it continued to be on a less momentum and on a sideways trend. So it remained between the S1 and the CPR. So most of the times on a wide trending or a wide CPR day, the price remains to be between these crucial levels of previous day high or previous day low, or the S1 or the R1. In between these crucial points that the price would trade. It's very rare, or there are circumstances where 20% of chances where even though the CPR was wide, the price moved on upwards or downwards, breaking S1 or R1 or the previous day low or the previous day high. So there are possibilities. So trading is always about probabilities, but knowing this concept will give you an edge that most of the times, 70% of the times on a wide CPR day, it is always a narrow price range. Now let's look into one last example. Now the previous day we saw that it was a narrow range, a trending range because of a narrow CPR. On a narrow CPR day, you usually expect a trending day, and on a wide CPR day, you usually expect a sideways day. Here, though the price break out of the initial balance low, it tend to be slow on momentum, and it continued to be closing within the initial balance low. So this is the nature of movement of price on a wide CPR day. Now let's move on to what happens on a narrow CPR day. Now the previous day's price range was confined to a narrow range, that is between the initial balance low and initial balance high, first 1 hour of the session. So this made the CPR for the next trading session or the current trading session to be narrow, and as the price opened below the CPR, though the price opened below the CPR showing a negative sentiment, it immediately took support near this wide CPR, which happened to be the virgin CPR for the day, and the gap area. So the gap area acted as a strong support and made the stock to trend upwards, breaking the previous day high R1 as well as R2. So this usually displays the strength of the narrow CPR day, where the prices tend to go beyond the given ranges. Now let's look at another example. In this example, we have an unusually narrow CPR, but that's what I said, the trading is all about probabilities. And our narrow CPR does not mean a complete trending day on all 100% times. Only we calculate it as a 70-30% of chances. Though this was a narrow CPR day, the price remained to be slightly sidewards. But we can always expect that when there was an unusually narrow CPR day and the price moved on a sideways trend, the next day or the coming days, the price is bound to explode in either of the directions. So that is what has happened here. Now, since this day was a sideways day, the CPR for the current trading session was, and from there the price was rejected from the previous day high and it continued to trend downwards. Now let's go into another example where the range of the CPR, the width of the CPR was narrow, and previous day there was this virgin CPR. I will do on a chapter, an exclusive chapter on how to trade a virgin CPR and how exactly it helps in determining the movement of the price. So here you can see that the price gapped down with a wide range, and it took support from the virgin CPR and continued to trend towards the previous day high. So since it was a narrow CPR day, we got to find a trending day. Now we have one more example where the CPR was a narrow range and narrow width CPR, and the day was a trending day. You can see that the 21 EMA was never broken. So strong was the trend on that given particular day. So to summarize the session, when there is a wide CPR or the width of the CPR is too wide, then you can always expect a narrow range for the price movement, and when the range of the or the width of the CPR is narrow, we can expect a trending day. So that's it guys for today. Hope you enjoyed the second chapter of the CPR video series. Now I'll be back with the third chapter. See you soon. Thank you. Please do subscribe for the channel, share the video and like the video. Your support is precious to us.